So, this is my Blended Diets 201 webinar. I did a Blended Diets 101 webinar, and if you are brand new to Blended Diets, I would recommend watching that one first. That one is more of getting started, and this one will be more geared towards parents that are already blending and want to gain a sense of independence as far as, as their child grows, how are they going to change and increase their blend. And yes, so if you have any questions, please phone me at 415-496-9245. And that will, that's my Google voice number, and you can text that, and that I'll have that turned on for the duration of the webinar. You can also visit our Facebook group, Blenderized RN. I have a Facebook page that's called Blenderized RN, but our Facebook group is actually where you will find a lot of information in the files section, where you can post questions. It's a closed group, so no one can see the postings. And many moms that are, I should say parents that are, have been blending for a while can help you through your transition. Make sure you check out our webinar on April 2nd with Dr. Katrina Miller. She's a family medicine medical doctor, and we're going to be talking about the medical community's perception of formula and blended diets, and then how parents can gain support for blended diets, and then we'll go through some growth charts and growth delays, and then we'll have a Q&A from the audience. And she's really a fantastic doctor and a person. So she's it's very nice of her to lend us some of her time to talk to us, because I know she's very busy. And yeah, so looking forward to that webinar. Please join us then. That'll be at noon Pacific Standard Time. All my webinars are at noon Pacific Standard. And my website also just launched, blenderizedrn.com. A lot of information is on that site. I will be adding more as the weeks go on. And yeah, let me know if you need anything. You can always email me, veronica@blenderizedrn.com, or veronicabrilrn@gmail.com. Okay, so Blended Diets 201. Quick overview. I'm going to do a nutritional app review. I was going to wait till the end, but I know everyone probably wants that first. And then I'm going to go over some growth and weight gain, how you can modify your blends, some long-term goals for everyone, depending on your situation. And then we'll go over some blending during an illness and things you can do to keep a child hydrated, allergies, how to do some allergy testing, and kind of the nitty-gritty in the end is really a calorie. And then that'll be it. If you have any ideas or suggestions for future webinars, or I haven't answered something pressing for you, please email me, and I will add it to my next webinar, or I can discuss it with you at a different time. So there are thousands of diet and nutritional apps that are available for phones and tablets, and really there's just a small handful that will do the things that you need as a parent. Usually to-be parents tend to want to calculate calories and be on top of their child's blend. I recommend slowly moving away from that, but I know a lot of parents really need to show information to doctors, so they want to stick with some sort of app where they can keep track of foods and meals and stuff. So I reviewed some of the main apps out there, and there were two that I liked, and some that were completely horrible, and some that were not bad. So the ones in red, so we'll start off with MyFitnessPal. I did like it. It is free. Is it pediatric friendly? And I made some categories to just see how we can compare them. So was MyFitnessPal pediatric friendly? No. You can't enter below 4 feet. You can't enter a certain weight. It is cumbersome having to enter a height and weight instead of just putting in your calorie goals. And then My concern was, I know Jennifer in the group loves the MyFitnessPal, but every time I've checked what she sent me, it's been a little off in calories. And so then you're not able to accurately assess, how many calories your child is getting. So I picked 3 items: egg, avocado, and an apple, to compare with all of the apps. And then I averaged the discrepancy, and MyFitnessPal was the second least incorrect. So the egg, the calories were above 16% of actual calories, and the calories that I compared it to were the USDA amounts. So USDA is kind of like our main site, government area that lists calories for foods, and they have food scientists working on this. So they're really the source for calories for foods and nutrition. So the eggs were off. They were overestimated by 16%. Avocado was overestimated by 4%, and then apple was underestimated by 15%. So I gave it a 4 out of 10. It's a little cumbersome. I didn't like it that much, but when I started using the other apps, I started liking it more. So I think if you get used to it, it's not too bad. I know the online version's not bad either. Fat Secret is free. You can enter a low weight and low height, but not a low age. Most of these you have to be 16. Again, the egg was below the calorie amount by 5%. Avocado was below by almost 20%, and the apple was below by like almost 25%. It was pretty easy to use, but with how incorrect all the calories were, I would not recommend it. So it was about 16% discrepancy there. There's an app called Calorie, Carb, and Fat Counter. It's free, but you have to be 16 years old. And you also can't use a low height and weight, which is what, to-be parents need. They need to be able to enter a low height and weight. But the good thing is the egg and avocado were exactly right. And the apple, unfortunately, was minus 31% in accuracy. So actually the mean of the incorrectness, or the average, was only 10%. I gave it a user-friendly rating of 2. It had a bit of trouble finding how to add things and where, and the percentages were, when they were off, they were way off. Food diary. I liked the food diary the best. The reason why, it is free, and there's a few different food diaries, but the one I checked out is just called Food Diary. There's no age and weight requirement, so you don't enter age or weight. So if you know your child's goals, and I will give them to you today, and in Blended Diets 101, the child goals are there too. If you know your child's goals, you can just you can just enter the foods, and then you can tally them up on your own by the end of the day to see if you've met your goals. So you don't have to enter anything. The avocado and apple were right on as far as calories, but the egg was down by 7%. So on average, it only had a 2% incorrect range, I guess. So I gave it an 8. It was very simple to use if you already know your goals. The only downfall is that you have to make sure to choose the right amount of food. So most of the apps, one serving of apple will be a medium apple, but with them, they used, I think, like 100 grams of apple. So just make sure you're choosing the correct amounts, and it's pretty easy to use. So Food Diary and MyFitnessPal were my favorites. And let me know what you think of those two, and try them out and see for yourself. So the other ones, they were just disasters. I didn't even bother getting too far with them, because like Healthy Nutrition Guide, you have to pay for it once you get the app. It's not for children. It was simply horrible to use. Spark People, showed only serving sizes and not amounts. So I didn't even know when I put in an egg, it gave me a serving size that was 200 calories. And I didn't even know how much 200 calories was, like how many grams of egg that was. You also must be 18 and be 70 pounds. It was difficult to maneuver, difficult to set goals. And then nutritional values, it's not a nutritional tracker, and it felt really like something from 1990. So all you did was like look up a food and then you find the calories for it and nutrition. It wasn't, it wasn't that great. You could definitely Google food to get the same thing, but easier and better. And just to let you know, Google does use the USDA values. So if you're Googling a food, it should be pretty accurate. Okay, so growth in calories. So that, again, this is for mothers and fathers who are blending and they've been doing it for a while, and now, okay, my child is gaining weight. How much now am I adjusting the blend? So toddlers between 1 and 3, you want to add 45 calories per pound gained. And just real quick, 45 calories, 1 tablespoon of honey is 64 calories. So it's really not that much, but you do want to add that per pound. 4 to 6-year-olds add 41 calories per pound gained. 7 to 18-year-olds, 32 calories per pound gained. So with protein, how much are we adjusting? So toddlers between 1 and 3 add 1.1 gram per kilogram. Now we're not in pounds anymore with the protein. It's a cumbersome adjustment when I tried to do it with pounds. So I'm going to show you how to convert pounds to kilograms. 4 to 13-year-olds, you add 0.95 grams per kilogram gained. And 14 to 18-year-olds add 0.85 grams per kilogram gained. So 1 kilogram equals 2.2 pounds. So if your child is 20 pounds, then you would take 20 divided by 2.2, and that's 9.1 kilograms. And then you would, if your child gained to 10.1 kilograms, then you would add, if your child was 3 years old, then you would add 1.1 grams of protein to their blend. If you have any questions about this, just email me, veronica@blenderizedrn.com, and I can send you some more information if you want to talk about it if you're having issues with growth. Rate of gain. So this is, we're getting really into the nitty-gritty here. If you want to talk about grams per day, 12 to 18 months, males can expect to gain 7 grams, 7 grams per day, and females would gain 8.5. And then it starts to even out at 18 to 24 months. You want both males and females to gain 6 grams a day, and then females will go down a bit. 2 to 6 years old, 5.5 grams a day for boys, and females would be 5 grams a day. And that is really for typical children. And I always say, if your growth is consistent, some special needs children tend to be on the smaller side of the scale. So if your child is just growing at a consistent rate, that's a good sign. And it may not always be exactly like a typical child, but these are just some goals for you if you'd like. And fluids, this again is on the Blended Diet 101, but I thought while we're talking about growth, as the weight increases, your fluids will also increase. And what you do is find in pounds your child's weight, and then to the right of it is how many milliliters your child will need throughout the day. And that's including all blends also. And during hot days, or if a child is trached or sick, you want to give a little bit more. So while we're talking about increasing calories and everything, I just want you to remember what a regular diet looks like. Your fat is about 30%, carbs are about 50%, protein's about 20%. And if a child is below the age of 4, so between 1 and 4, you want to not really limit their amount of fat that they're taking. So if you're getting a little bit more fat, 35%, that's okay. So long-term goals. This has been, my focus since starting this. Really, I want you to have stable growth for your child, and really to keep in mind that special needs must be considered. There are some children that have genetic issues, deletions or extra genes, and that syndrome might have smaller than average for height and weight for that child. So always have that considered. If you're with a doctor that doesn't meet those considerations, find someone who will, because your child really should be compared to themselves. As long as they're growing at a good rate, you should be happy with that. You may not ever meet the goals of a typical child. And really, from the beginning, I've always talked about normalizing the home atmosphere, especially with meal times. With my son, my son's got a lot of medical issues, and the only thing we've got that makes us feel normal is including him in meal times, and we just blend his food, but we all eat the same things. And really, your goal should be your child's happiness and also the family's happiness. Once the child switches over to a blended diet, the vomiting should decrease, the bowel movements should become a little more normal, and the sleeping should be better, because unless there's a metabolic issue, there should be no meals throughout the night. There should be no feedings at night, and everyone should be sleeping. And it really should improve the whole family atmosphere. Again, a blended diet should improve the quality of everyone's life in the home. So creating a normal atmosphere. Now, I love these plates. You can get these plates, or you can make one, if you just draw a divider through. And it kind of guides, this is great for a toddler. So you've got your grains, proteins, vegetables, and fruits. And then, like, a side of dairy, there's some yogurt there. You could have a cup of milk. And if you have a typical child, you might give them this. And with a blended a G-tube child, you could just, no kidding, throw this in the blender and push it through their tube. And that's where I want people to start focusing on, if the child is capable. So I want you to start treating your tubey child just like you would a typical child. And if your tubey child's smaller, a smaller percentile, and wouldn't be able to tolerate this amount, then make an amount that they would tolerate, and just move towards a more normal type of feeding. And it will really benefit you and the family. It will feel like you will feel more empowered. You will feel better about meal times, and it helps me tremendously to be able to feed my son normal food instead of a can of formula. So then throw it in the blender. And you may have to add some water or milk to that, but perfectly fine for blending. So if there is an illness, what are we doing? So an illness occurs when viruses, bacteria, or other microbes enter your body, begin to multiply. And it occurs when your body, when the cells in your body are damaged as a result of the infections. And then the signs and symptoms of an illness occur. And these signs and symptoms occur with a response to the infection. So the white blood cells, antibodies, and other mechanisms go to work to get rid of the foreign invader. And so these illnesses, the fever, headache, rash that you get, they're a result from the activities of the immune system trying to eliminate the infection from the body. So the fever, the temperature goes up to kill the invader. So the biggest problem with illnesses is dehydration. So children can lose large amounts of water and salts through fever. And the higher the temperature goes, the more the child loses. Diarrhea, vomiting, or even prolonged exercise and excessive sweating. So if they're unable to adequately replace the fluid that's been lost, kids can become dehydrated. And it happens a lot quicker with children than with adults. So you really need to recognize dehydration and get to it quickly. So if your child has a fever, diarrhea, vomiting, you think that they're dehydrated, some of the signs are a dry or sticky mouth, few or no tears when crying, eyes that look sunken into the head, the soft spot on top of the baby's head is sunken in, lack of urine or wet diapers for 6 to 8 hours. You want to have nice full diapers about every 4 hours, and you want the urine to be a nice light straw yellow color and not dark yellow. So lack of urine for 12 hours in an older child, dry, cool skin, lethargy, or irritability, and then fatigue or dizziness in an older child. So how can we prevent it? Give a lot of fluids during hot weather or with a trach or with respiratory issues. Water and salt and potassium regulate the water content of the body. So drinking water without adequate salt and potassium intake will not correct dehydration. Giving water will temporarily treat the symptoms of dehydration, but the balance of salt intake is what makes the real difference in health and hydration. So drinking bone broth is one of the best ways to replenish electrolytes because it does contain sodium, magnesium, and potassium. Also, there's a little, I have a recipe for a little smoothie later on. So there's an author of Your Body, Many Cries for Water. He said that there's 2 oceans of water in the body. One ocean is held on the inside of the cells, and the other ocean is held outside of the cells, so our bloodstream. Good health depends on a delicate balance between the 2 volumes of these oceans. So the balance of the 2 oceans in our body is achieved by drinking enough water daily, and also adding a moderate amount of natural salt to our diet, and 3, eating a variety of potassium-rich fruits and vegetables. So that being said, you can make a hydration smoothie with any sort of vegetables. Mix a cup of banana, mango, papaya, and orange. These all have high potassium. Frozen vegetables, I buy frozen vegetables at Costco, and they're really nice in the hot summer days. And they may also help with a fever. So mix them with water, add a pinch of salt, and then blend. And that should help with dehydration in the summertime or during an illness. And then, yeah, push it through the G-tube. And there's your hydration smoothie. So pediatrician, keep your pediatrician informed of your child's illnesses. Not all dehydration can be treated easily at home. If it's gone too far, the child may have to see a doctor. Always follow your pediatrician's recommendations, okay? So allergies. One of the big things when doing blended diets is, well, how do I check for allergies? You know, a typical child might be able to put something in their mouth and then they might have a reaction, but we'll do patch testing. So any child may develop allergies, but there are some more common in children from families with a history of such reactions. So if your family has a ton of allergies, your child probably will too, your to-be child. So the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology states that the most common food allergies are peanuts, eggs, milk, and milk products. And usually with the egg, it's the egg white and not the egg yolk. The egg yolk is less allergic. Other frequent triggers include fish, shellfish, so that includes crab, lobster, crayfish, and shrimps, soy, tree nuts, like pecans, cashews, walnuts, and wheat. The most severe reactions are typically to peanuts, tree nuts, fish, and shellfish. All allergies can last a lifetime, but children often outgrow allergies to milk, eggs, soy, and wheat. So if your child isn't tolerating something, you can try again in 4 to 6 months or whenever your pediatrician says to retry it. So patch testing. This is what I do with my son. And you can rub food on the inside of a wrist before bed and then see what it looks like in the morning. With nut butters, I would put a little bit of nut butter on the wrist and then put some paper tape over it so that it stays. And then you watch for a reaction in the morning. I would do that a couple times. So yeah, I recommend 2 wrist patch tests. And then you can also put a little bit on the inside of the bottom lip. Just rub like a mango or whatever food you're trying to test. Rub it on the bottom of the inside of their lip and see if there's a reaction. Of course, don't rub too hard because you'll cause a reaction that way. Okay, so a lot of children are underweight that are tube fed, and how do we deal with these children? So a child with special needs may be underweight for a number of reasons. So again, how children lead to getting these G tubes, they usually have difficulty swallowing, chewing, or getting foods to their mouth, or they're not eating enough. Children with heart defects often need extra calories to gain weight and maintain their weight, especially before and after surgery. Children with heart and lung problems may have difficulty breathing, which increases their energy needs above that of other children. So you may be meeting goals of a typical child of your child's weight, but you still may have to give extra calories to compensate for the lung and heart issues. And especially children with cystic fibrosis, they may have lung congestion and breathing problems, and they're not able to digest foods very efficiently. So what's recommended? Frequent meals and snacks. Provide high-calorie, nutrient-dense foods. Boost calories and protein. So fat provides about 2 times more calories per tablespoon than protein or carbohydrates. So for this reason, adding foods that contain some fat is one way to add calories for children who need to gain weight. Protein is not as high in calories as fat, but it is important for growth and healing. Foods high in protein also give children other important vitamins and minerals. So up the fat, up the protein, if you can, and that should help. So I've had a few people contact me saying, the doctor says the Pediasure is the same calories as a meal I'm going to blend. So, why can't I just give the Pediasure? It's the same calories. Well, a calorie is actually not a calorie. So a calorie by its simplest definition is a unit of energy. A food calorie equals 1 kilocalorie, which is the amount of energy needed to raise 1 gram of water from 15 to 16 degrees Celsius. So that's the technical stuff. So a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. They say that it doesn't matter whether you eat 100 calories of candy or 100 calories of broccoli. They'll have the same effect on your weight, and that's wrong. And you and I know that's wrong also, because if you eat 100 calories of cake, you know that you'll put on a little bit more of that weight than if you ate the broccoli. So when it comes to your body, things are not that simple. The same number of calories, vastly different effects on hunger. So they'll affect hormones and metabolic health because a calorie is not a calorie. The human body is a highly complex biochemical system with elaborate processes that regulate energy balance. This is, people spend years studying the biochemical systems within the body, and when you ingest food, every single item is not used in the same way. Different foods go through different biochemical pathways, some of which are inefficient and cause calories to be lost as heat. Even more important is the fact that different foods and micronutrients have a major effect on hormones and brain centers that control hunger and eating behavior. So some foods will cause you to be more hungry, and some foods will make you feel full and satisfied. The 2 main simple sugars in the diet are glucose and fructose. And when I say glucose and fructose, I'm not talking about fructose found in fruit. We're talking about like an additive, a sugar additive, like if you buy a food in the grocery store and it has added fructose for sweetener. So these two seem almost identical. They have the same chemical formula and weigh exactly the same. But to your body, the two are completely different. Glucose can be metabolized by all of the body's tissues, but fructose can only be metabolized by the liver in any significant amount. So a high consumption of fructose can cause insulin resistance, abdominal fat gain, increased triglycerides, blood sugar, and small dense LDL compared to the exact number of calories from glucose. So basically, it wreaks havoc on your body to consume just fructose. And fructose is actually found in some formulas as a sweetener. So keep in mind this applies to fructose from added sugars only, not the fructose from fruit. Fruits also have fiber, water, and significant chewing resistance, or if you're blending them, which it decreases the negative effects of fructose. So there are many controversies in nutrition, and experts don't agree on many things, but one of the few things that almost everyone agrees on is that refined carbs are bad. This includes added sugars like sucrose, high fructose corn syrup, as well as grain products like white bread. So high fructose corn syrup is the main calorie ingredient in formula. So refined carbohydrates tend to be low in fiber, and they get digested and absorbed quickly, leading to rapid spikes in blood sugar. They have a high glycemic index, which is a measure of how quickly foods raise blood sugar. If you watch my Diets for Seizure Control, I talk about glycemic index a lot. So when we eat a food that spikes blood sugar fast, it tends to lead to a crash in blood sugar a few hours later, also known as the blood sugar roller coaster. When blood sugar crashes, we get a craving for another high carb snack. Okay, so this was a quick one. Make sure you check out our webinar with Dr. Miller on April 2nd. Check out the website, blenderizedrn.com. If you have any questions, please email me, veronica@blenderizedrn.com. And let me know if there is a topic that you would like me to cover in the future. So thank you so much for your time, and I will speak.